और आपको इस समय सीधे लिए चलते हैं केंद्रीय मंत्री जितेंद्र सिंह इस समय बूस्टर वैक्सीन लॉन्च कर रहे हैं।
So at the outset, I have to compliment the Department of Biotechnology, Genova, the Niti Aayog for having contributed to making this happen. And this celebration this afternoon is also a joint celebration. So sometimes we collaborate together, but we don't celebrate together. So it took us some time to learn not to work in silos, because earlier on we were working also silos. When we came out of silos and started working together, realizing that silos could not move us beyond certain point, then we did work, but after having accomplished, we didn't celebrate. And the grudge was that he's taken the ownership, he's taken. I'm glad that all of us have now today jointly celebrated it, and each one of us has recognized each other's role in making this happen. Biotechnology having conducted the trials, and also having contributed through BIREC, and of course Genova having played a very sterling role, and Niti Aayog being our knowledge partner. So each one's role is being acknowledged. And I think my first thought was that this also ushers India into a new era, and that is of preventive health care. And I think the entire credit goes to Prime Minister Modi. Also because we were inherently not made like that. We never had a temperament or a psyche or a mindset which would be amenable to preventive health care. Because we, Indian society as a whole, did not even, an average Indian would not go in even for a treatment if he was afflicted by a disease. So they would wait for a few days, and then if something goes the other way, then they would take it as God's decree. So I think that's also partly because our socio-economic background was like that, so we could not actually enjoy the luxury of catering to preventive aspects. But Prime Minister Modi has awakened the nation. And I was telling that the other day, some of the colleagues from abroad, I said, have you ever imagined that a country which had no aptitude for preventive health care is now taken up a leading role in preventive health care across the world? So this fifth vaccine, possibly the first of its kind, is again an evidence of that, because all of us as part of the scientific fraternity have learned not to speak without evidence. So I think this is one glaring instance of that India has taken up a leading. So it's a huge turnaround that has happened in the last few years, and I think COVID was a great learning experience. Post-COVID, India has emerged stronger in more ways than one, and it's also acquainted us to a number of inherent features which we were not aware of. It helped us rediscover many of our own characteristics. For example, I was talking that the other day at the AIMS during COVID. I said, sometimes I feel guilty, having been a teacher of medicine for almost more than a quarter of a century. In the last decade or so, we hardly gave any importance to the communicable disease. We were talking more of the diseases which belong to Dr. Sareen's domain, or of my own area of endocrinology, diabetes, because we thought we were now into those kind of metabolic disorders, and we have got over those times, the early decades when Dr. Paul would recall when tuberculosis and cholera were the main mortality factors in India. So we didn't actually train our residents to an extent that we were training them in the 50s and 60s. But then the best part is that overnight they got geared up. COVID struck, and we could see our young residents. I think the maximum contribution in the control of COVID has been done by these youngsters. They were just out of their junior residency, senior residency, never actually also like earlier times, because when I was an intern, we used to have a posting in the sanatorium. The whole time, I mean, if I tell now, it will be laughable. I was sent to Tambaram Sanatorium, one of the world's, biggest sanatorium, close to the Chennai airport. Because those days the emphasis was like that. So now so what I'm trying to say, coming back to what I was saying, is it made us realize the inherent resilience that our health system has. We have in our DNA the traits which were not discovered. So COVID helped us discover, and Prime Minister Modi helped us turn and adversity into virtue. The manner in which the entire program was carried forward as was being very nicely put across by Dr. Vinod Paul.
तो ये केंद्रीय मंत्री आप जितेंद्र सिंह का संबोधन सुन रहे थे, जिन्होंने ओमिक्रॉन की बूस्टर डोज जेमकोवैक-OM वैक्सीन लॉन्च की है। उन्होंने कहा है कि स्वदेशी